If you do a search on Google for the best electric skateboards, you're going to see some terrible results. You're going to see multiple top 10 lists that show you boards like Acton, Blitzart, Swagtron, Inboard. Some of these brands don't even make electric skateboards anymore. If you're trying to find out which electric skateboard you should buy, looking on Reddit is probably going to give you much better results. Google is good for many things, but when it comes to electric skateboards, don't use Google. So Reddit is pretty good, certain Facebook groups are pretty good, and there's this YouTube channel called Kwan. I don't know if you've heard of it, subscribe. So if you want to know which electric skateboards you should consider right now, I'll tell you. I'll tell you about all the boards that you should consider that are under about $1,000, maybe even a little bit over $1,000. I'm not gonna go over the more expensive boards, like for example, Boosted and Evolve, because you already know about them. And some of the even more expensive ones are kind of like more specialized. So I'll just tell you about the ones that I think are appropriate for, like say, a beginner or someone intermediate. So let's go through the list alphabetically, starting with Backfire. Backfire's boards are all pretty good. If the roads in your area are really bad, go with the Backfire Ranger. In fact, the Backfire Ranger is probably the only hub motor all-terrain board that you should consider. The G3 and G3 Plus are both high-performance hub motor boards. Between those two, I personally would choose the G3 because it uses a bamboo deck. I don't think carbon fiber decks are bad or anything. I would just rather wait maybe half a year just to make sure that people's decks aren't breaking. But the G3 Plus is a higher performance board than the G3. If you're on a tighter budget, you can consider the Backfire G2T or the Backfire G2 Black. The G2 Black is under $400 and it's probably the best looking board that you can find for under 400 bucks. Next, brand. Xway's boards are all really good. About a year ago, the Xway X1 was the board that I used the most often. Today, it's the Xway X1 Pro. Even though the X1, I think, came out in 2017, it's still a good board today. In fact, I would choose the X1 over something like a Boosted Mini for portability. What a lot of people don't realize is that a lot of mini boards aren't really that portable. They weigh almost as much as electric Ownboards, and sometimes more. But the Xway X1 weighs less than both versions of the Boosted Mini without sacrificing the benefits of having a longer wheelbase. So if you're considering the Xway X1 today, I still think it's a good buy. The board that I use the most today is the Xway X1 Pro Riot. The X1 Pro Riot is great if you enjoy riding aggressively, meaning you like to accelerate hard and brake hard. Doesn't mean you have to. You can accelerate gently and you can brake gently also. But you can also accelerate really hard and brake really hard. In fact, I think the X1 Pro Riot has the best brakes out of all the boards that I've tried. And then there's the X1 Pro, which is similar to the X1 Pro Riot, except it uses hub motors. The X1 Pro Riot uses belt drive. All of Xway's boards have this feature called standby mode, which you can enable in Xway's app. With standby mode, you can turn on the board using just the remote. As far as I know, no other brand today has this feature. Only Xway has this feature, and it's freaking awesome because you don't have to bend down and push a button to turn on the board. That's tiring. Next, brand. Meepo. Meepo is the OG budget electric skateboard brand. They're not the first company to make budget electric skateboards, but I think it's fair to say that they made budget electric skateboards popular and forever changed the industry. The NLS Pro, I think, is worth considering. It is a unique product in that the deck is relatively large for a street board. Compared to most other boards, it's a little bit longer and a little bit wider. And I think Meepo is the only brand that ships boards with 100mm wheels stock. Not everybody prefers large wheels, but you gotta admit that large wheels make the ride more comfortable. So with the combination of the large wheels and the large flexi deck, the NLS Pro is a very comfortable ride. Now, if you've watched my other videos, you know that I'm not a fan of the ESC that they're using, but that's just my opinion. And there are people who I highly respect who actually prefer that ESC. Using that ESC also gives Meepo boards certain benefits. The most significant one being that you can just push the board to turn it on. You don't have to bend down and press a button because
that's disgusting and I hate that.
It actually is really, really convenient to be able to turn on the board just by pushing it a little bit. Next, brand. Ownboard has three very interesting products right now. First, the Ownboard W2. Now this board is not exactly a top performer in terms of like acceleration and brakes. However, this board is a very good value. It comes with two sets of wheels, one set in 83mm and the other set in 90mm. And it also comes with 2 sets of pulleys, one for ABEX style cores and the other for orangutan cores. That means that you can use Kikos or Kagwamas on this board. Those wheels are really popular. The range on that board is also quite good. I think you can expect around like 30 kilometers depending on your weight and how you ride. When I said that this board is not a top performer, I'm not saying that it's slow. The acceleration is good, it's just not one of the best. And same with the brakes. The brakes are okay. It's not one of the best, but it's okay. Overall, I think it's a really good board for the money. And then Ownboard also has the Carbon AT and the Bamboo AT. In fact, I have the Bamboo AT in the box sitting right there. See? It's right there. In my review of the Carbon AT, I think I said that it was pretty good. I just had 2 issues with it. One was that the brakes were kind of weak, and the other was that you can't really change the wheels. I mean, like the back wheels, because the pulleys only worked with those all-terrain wheels. They didn't supply pulleys for smaller wheels. If you're a DIY person, then sure, you can figure out how to change the setup. But I think for the average customer, they wouldn't really know where to start. But now, things are different. Ownboard has now released their 120mm cloud wheels, and it also includes a new set of pulleys. With the new cloud wheels and the new pulleys, the top speed should be higher, the range should be longer, and most importantly, the brakes should be stronger. I actually have the wheels in a box. Hold on. I have them right here. This is the new pulley for the cloud wheels. And this is the cloud wheel. I haven't tried these yet because I've been so busy, but I'm really looking forward to it. So basically, the 2 issues that I had with the Carbon AT are now gone. The Carbon AT and the Bamboo AT should be pretty similar. I think their only difference should be just the deck. One has a stiff deck and the other has a flexi deck. Next, brand. Vestar. There is one board from Vestar that I think you should consider, and that's the Vestar Night Fury. The Night Fury, in terms of performance, kind of feels like the Ownboard W2. However, it does have 2 qualities that make it stand out. First, it has a very, very flexy deck. If you enjoy super flexy decks, you may want to consider this one because this board has the most flexy deck I've ever been on. It's actually borderline too flexy for me, but I think it's actually okay. I'm about 70 kilograms. If you're heavier than me, I'm not sure. It's probably going to feel even more flexy for you. But for me, I think it's all right. The other special thing about this board is its massive range. This is the only board I've been on where I traveled 40 kilometers on a single charge. So if you're constantly worried that you're going to run out of power on your board, this may be one that you can consider. Last but not least, WowGo. The 2 boards that you should pay attention to from WowGo are the WowGo 3 and the WowGo 3X. These 2 boards are pretty similar. The biggest difference between them is that one uses hub motors and the other uses belt drive. I would consider the WowGo 3 and the 3X to be high-performing boards, meaning you can accelerate hard and brake hard. The brakes on these boards are really good. Between these 2 boards, I personally prefer the 3X because it uses belt drive. The ride is just a lot more comfortable if you're comparing the same size wheels. What's most significant about the WowGo 3X is this. If you're considering a boosted board, but it's way out of your budget, the WowGo 3X is very similar and even better in some ways. You have the flexi deck, belt drive, strong acceleration, strong brakes, excellent control, and it also has stuff that boosted doesn't have. The remote has a telemetry display, and of course the board has way more range than a boosted board. If you're familiar with the WowGo 3X, its performance and its specs, I have a question for you. If boosted drops the price of the boosted Stealth down to the same price as a WowGo 3X, would you choose the WowGo or would you choose the boosted? Let me know in the comments. If you ask me, I don't know, I don't want to say, I want to see what you guys say. And the same goes for the Exway X1 Pro Riot. If the boosted Stealth were to cost the same as a Exway X1 Pro Riot, which one would you get? Boosted boards really are fantastic, but today, so are many other boards. There are, of course, a lot of other boards that I didn't mention, but I think I've covered at least the major brands that you should look at. You should definitely look at Backfire, Xray, Meepo, Ownboard, and WowGo. Yeah, I think those 5. There are many other brands, but I don't know how much longer they're going to be around. The 5 that I just mentioned have been around for at least 2 years. They're not just copying stuff anymore, they're actually leading the way. Again, don't use Google. I looked at those top 10 lists that you find in the search results. Most of the time, these brands don't even get mentioned. Boards are getting really good. We're seeing less voltage sag, we're seeing more range, much better trucks. What did I write? Great. It's out of battery. So I guess I better wrap this up. Less voltage sag, more range, better trucks. What else? I actually wrote a script for this video, but Zoho Notebook ate my script while I was trying to sync it from the computer to my phone. So f*** you, Zoho Notebook. you. But yeah, boards that came out this year are like way better than 1 year ago and way better than 2 years ago, except the Exway X1. Exway X1 has always been really good. Anyway, let me know what you think. If you have any questions, leave a comment, and I'll see you next time. Started having allergies in the middle of the shoot. Ugh. Shit. Ugh.